Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. This is Yankee and the Brit Sports Talk. And today we're going to give you our review of Week 7 in the NFL, which I'll say, I think we agree, wasn't the greatest week of football we've had. But oddly, Maddie, one stat I wanted to point out to everybody is going into this week, and I don't know where it turned out after, but there was 23 games decided in the last minute or overtime this season going into this week.
Yeah, and this is the first week we haven't had an overtime game all season so far, which is the first time that's happened in the NFL, which is an incredible stat line. It's been an incredible season so far. And I think when we were making our picks for this week, we knew it wasn't going to be the best week of football. A lot of blowouts, a lot of games that didn't really mean anything. One blowout I just want to raise everybody's attention with really quickly is the Brits Bangers versus the Yankee Assassin on our fantasy league this week.
Okay, you do know though.
Game. You just hit the.
If you brag on this one, you do know though. If you brag on this one with all the injuries I have, if Dak doesn't play, you can't use that as an excuse next week.
I like it. I was just about to say to you, I understand that you hit the bye week and injury bug. A terrible time, so I don't want to I don't want to be too over the top with it, but I'm just letting everybody know. But you were also playing me the week that I had the highest points in our entire.
I was going to say,
so
you might want to save some. You might want to save some of them points.
Yeah, don't worry about it. There's a lot of. I'm really worried about the playoffs now because I've had like weeks where I've had like 200, 150, and then everybody's just going to be screwed.
The good thing about you making those points, though, is if there's a tie for the playoffs, points are the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So all those points will help you in any tiebreaker to get into the playoffs because your guys ran fucking wild.
I think I just got really, really lucky, to be perfectly honest, with my bye and injuries all going nicely into one. So, good game.
Well, my problem is
unlucky
half
friends.
My team is Vikings and Browns, and that was a bad makeup this weekend.
And Patrick Mahomes having a terrible time. If Patrick Mahomes played like Patrick Mahomes, you might have been fine.
Yeah,
anyway,
and I'll wait until we talk about.
Talk.
I'll wait till we talk about the Chiefs, but I thought he might have died in that game. So we'll start with the Packers football team. And I don't think this was any surprise whatsoever. And the only thing I said that got some people worked up is that, the refs screwed the Washington football team. And people are like, how? And I'm like, look, guys, I'm not saying it would change the outcome of the game at all because it wouldn't have. What I'm saying is when Taylor Heineke, couldn't remember, ran and dove. Okay, that's the rule. He was down. I hate the new rule, but that's it. He's down. But the next time when they did that quarterback sneak, I don't see how it can be a fumble and down because of forward progress. How can you have both? That's what bothered me. That's what I said. The refs were completely awful again. It wouldn't have changed the outcome. The Packers were winning that game. And there was a couple bad calls on the Packers. That's not what I was saying, Packer fans. I was not saying the refs helped you. I know people tell you that. That's not what I was saying. I was just pointing out, once again, the refs are awful.
Yeah, again, if you train them properly and you let the rules properly, then they'd be fine. But it's terrible. Washington football team did what the Washington football team had been doing all year. They looked good until halftime, and then they were good after. Like, it was a relatively close game. Exactly was going to be the Packers won because they have a better team. And that's pretty much like all there is to say on that. The Packers, when we say to the Packers, by the way, that they're not looking great, it's because of games like this where the other team scored 10 points and it was still for season felt kind of close. So it's not that we're saying they're a bad team. It's not that we're saying they're not a playoff team. They're in a Super Bowl window 100%. It's just you're winning games and you're not stringing your best performances together. That's something to be happy about rather than be angry at us for.
Yeah, and like I said, we both pretty much called how that game was going to turn out. So I'm going to turn us to a game where somehow I became the Justin Fields apologist or defender when I'm not even the biggest fan with the Bears versus the Bucks. But holy shit, Bears fan. You guys bullied Matt Nagy who's horrible, into starting this kid when they weren't ready for him to start. No offensive line, weapons, the kid's young. And now he's going out there and he's getting 4 turnovers, playing awful. It's not even his fault. They're just doing this kid dirty.
This is that window that we were talking about, that we talked about at the start of the season and we talked about in the preseason, of where you can't start Justin Fields in these games that they're playing now, in this window of games. They've got some easier games coming up where if you were going to start him at all this season, which I wouldn't do if you had Andy Dalton, then you could start him then. You can't start him in these games and expect a lot from him. The Bucks haven't got a lot of airtime on our show, and that's because they're just tearing everybody up. So we can't really talk about them too much. We wanted to talk about this because it's NFC North and we don't talk about the Bucks enough, and it's not fair that they don't get talked about because they're tearing everybody apart. Tom Brady is amazing. Mike Evans kind of picks and chooses the games where he wants to go. And I think it's Tom Brady kind of just goes, oh, you haven't been getting a lot of targets recently. Here you go. Next week, they're going to find ways to get Antonio Brown open because he didn't get a lot of targets last week.
Well, and I've seen this a lot on social media sites. So I just want to throw something out there. When everybody's going, I'd never gave that ball back. I'd never gave that 600 ball back. I'm not giving it back. Look, the NFL rules state you do not have the right to keep the ball unless the team who owns the ball gives you the right to keep it. That guy was never making it out the stadium with that ball. So the fact that he got a set of fucking season tickets for 2 years, 2 Tom Brady signed jerseys, a Tom Brady signed helmet, a Mike Evans signed jersey, signed cleats for Mike Evans, a different game ball, and a Bitcoin. I think the guy made out. I don't know. I see all these people like,
I didn't know
this $500,000 comes from some auctioneer who put a random number on the ball. I'm like, quit acting like the Bucks shaded this guy. I think he got a great deal for a ball he wasn't even going to keep.
Yeah, I think that's a trade that the guy could be very, very happy with. That's a trade for me that both teams go away happy with. That's the Carson Wentz trade of the season so far.
Best trade of the year.
Yeah, really, really good for them to kind of do that for the guy, and really, really good of the guy to not kick up a fuss. Who's going to rob Tom Brady of his 600th pass career? And he's the guy that's made your franchise.
Right. I'm not a Bucs fan.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm a Bucs fan. I'm going to give the ball back to the guy who's making the Bucs relevant. You know, like the 600 touchdowns. I made a joke saying
to a Viking. You know what I mean? So
yeah, exactly. Like if Dak Prescott goes on to score however many touchdowns, he goes, if I catch that ball, I'm happy I've touched that ball. Like,
you're part of it.
Touch the ball that he made. I will have that story to dine off as long as I live. I'm the guy that's touched the 600 career pass ball for the first time that's ever done it. I touched that ball before Tom Brady touched the ball. It was his 499th ball before it was his 600th ball. He didn't get to touch it before the other guy did. It was Mike Evans, that guy, and then Tom Brady who touched the 600 touchdown ball. I mean, what an amazing story to have for that guy. Congratulations to Tom Brady. I know you don't need to hear it from us. You're an incredible quarterback. I would have asked for a Mercedes-Benz is where my joke.
I saw you said that on one of those.
I think it's about the same value as the trade that they gave him, to be fair. I would have probably gone for one of them. He gave away Mercedes-Benz to Godwin, didn't he, for his TB12? Another thing that you wouldn't rob from Tom Brady.
I have no idea what a Mercedes costs in the US right now, but that Bitcoin's worth like 65,000, so I think he's fine.
Yeah, on top of the season tickets, on top of the signed jersey, where they gave him 2 so he can have one to sell for the money and one to keep for himself if he wants to do it. Great trade by them. Great game by the Buccaneers. The Bears are just not all right, and they're blaming Justin Fields for their problems, but no quarterback can fix what's up with the Bears right now.
And just because it popped in my head, and you know I'm a Tony Romo guy because he's from Wisconsin, that comment was so off base, though, about Giselle. I was like, what the hell was Tony Romo thinking? But whatever, we'll move on. We all stick our foot in our mouth at times. I've done it on here, so it happens. probably one of those things that was funnier in his head. And then when it came out, he was probably like, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, and he's definitely knows he shouldn't have said it. But, he's a great commentator. He's fine. It's not the most controversial thing that's been said by a person who's been commentating in the past 2 weeks. So
shit, Marshawn Lynch swore like 6 times on Monday Night Football last night.
I was more going for John Gruden, but yeah, I've totally forgot about Marshawn Lynch as well.
Just last night, though, with Peyton Manning, he said shit and stuff like 7 times. So Disney must have been just grabbing their head the whole time. But so on to a game that wasn't that exciting, but we are going to hear crazy shit coming out of Cleveland now with the Browns and Broncos. You are going to start hearing Case Keenum should be the starter. Case Keenum should be the starter. You're gonna. And I don't think they win that game unless, oh my God, brain block. The running back, was that Johnson that stepped up?
Johnson, who went absolutely off.
If it wasn't for that kid, and that kid's got vision, oh my gosh, that kid's got vision. He ran a 4.8 at his pro day. We know linemen that run faster than that, and this kid looked good.
They have 3 amazing running backs, and it's behind an incredible O-line. That guy's going to be really upset when he doesn't get any touches now after, when the other 2 come back. But, what an amazing game for that guy. And I'm not in the camp that Case Keenum should be starting over Baker Mayfield. I'm not that stupid. But what I think that game showed me, and I text you saying opinion, we do this for our hot takes after games and stuff to find out how we think they're going to land. But I said, opinion, Baker Mayfield isn't that much required in Cleveland. He's a better quarterback than Case Keenum, obviously. But if you're going to have to pay him Dak Prescott money, if you're going to have to, Patrick Mahomes, if you're going to have to pay him $40 million and sacrifice offensive linemen and sacrifice running backs and wide receivers, do you do that after seeing that game the other night?
I'm stuck at the point where what the hell else do you do? Because I get your point and I agree exactly what you're saying. And I don't want to give this kid that type of money yet. But what the hell else do you do that these fans act like I hear the Browns fans, we got to get rid of Baker. We got to get rid of Baker. Who are you going to go to?
There's nowhere
else
to go. It's
like the Vikings fans when they're and Kurt's balling this year, but other years, right? We got it, or the Redskins got rid of him. It's like, what have you had since you let this guy walk? Was he Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers? No, but look at what you're sitting with now. I don't understand where the fans think you're just going to get another quarterback, right? Because you got to the point where you picked up Dak in the first round, hit lightning in a bottle, but otherwise Romo's still your quarterback for another 2 or 3 years, because what else do you do?
Yeah, exactly. There's not there is genuinely there's very, very little for you to be able to do in that situation. If you're the Browns, the only thing you're able to do is kind of say, right, Baker, well, we can't pay you that $40 million, and we're going to back ourselves and say our roster's so good we can insert Andy Dalton's always the name that comes to mind when it's this kind of stuff, and you can't see him being very happy in Chicago with the way things have turned out. So we're going to insert an Andy Dalton. We're going to insert a Cam Newton. Those kind of guys, Tyrod Taylor, if the Texans decide to move on with Davis Mills. Those kind of guys, you see what you can do with them. And if it's nothing, then it's nothing. But at least you haven't had to break up your entire roster and down to Baker Mayfield. The only problem with that is there are no quarterbacks in the draft for you to go after at the minute. Tua Tagovailoa is the only guy that I can think of that works. Jimmy G, always, exactly. Jimmy G, Tua Tagovailoa, both have got the injury bug, but so's Baker, by the way.
I think they're going to write Baker up a contract that looks huge, but the guaranteed money's not going to be like Patrick or Dax, and they're going to be able to bail after 3 years if they need to. But that's just me guessing, because, again, we're both like, what do you do? So if you can get him with a contract that makes him look good and his agent, but yet is team friendly, that's the best route to go at this point.
Yeah, because I think it's not that Baker's not a talented quarterback. Baker's a starter in a lot of teams in the NFL. He's so up and down, and with Cleveland going for Super Bowls, with their roster, he should be more consistent. And if you got a guy who is more consistent, they'd be doing better than Baker, is how I would interpret it. And I still kind of like Baker Mayfield. I think he's slowly slipping further and further away from my top 10 quarterbacks
Well,
as we
he's
go
got
through this
two
season.
two injuries in his shoulder, a broken bone. And I'm not saying he's lighting the world on fire. I'm just saying the Browns fans have to look at that because they're so hyped about having a good team, which I get. And it's been so long, but me and you just talked about it last week. How fast do you expect them? They went from winning one game in 2 seasons to like being good. You gotta temper your expectations a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And I think they'll do well to remember that. And I just think you just can't pay Baker 40 million is how I look at it. But the Browns are apparently offering 30, mid 30. I would understand that if you cut the guaranteed money right down. And if the salary cap continues to go up, then 40 million is okay. But we're in uncertain times, so we don't know. And if they're going to just get rid of Odell Beckham, which they've got to do, right? Odell Beckham just doesn't fit their team at the minute, then there is that cap money available as well to take and give to other players as well.
Well, moving on to a team that's hot and a team that's not would be the Titans Chiefs. But, Maddie, these Chiefs fans need to calm down, too. They act like Patrick Mahomes ain't never going to be able to play good football again. They're just having a rough spot. Patrick Mahomes, for the first time in his career, is dealing with negative outside stuff because of the dumb shit his brother pulled and the dumb shit that his family members.
The dumb shit his wife and his brother are pulling. It's so stupid.
Right. And so I think that people are like, oh, they figured out Patrick Mahomes. He's garbage. He's now not a good quarterback. It's like, I think people really don't watch enough football or they just like to make random comments to get debates sparked on Facebook because, dude, you want to give me Patrick Mahomes? I'm good. I'm good. Like, let's go.
It's okay to be critical of fantastic quarterbacks, but still back them as well. Is something like I back Patrick Mahomes. I know next season he's going to be fine. All the best, all the greats go through difficult spots, and that's what makes you better. You can't just win no matter what. Lyrics of
no, and nobody wants to see them in the playoffs. I guarantee you, if they make the playoffs, nobody wants to see them.
Yeah, of course. This was the least surprising upset I've ever seen in my entire life. They're like I think the Chiefs were still 3-point favorites going into that game. Like that they were 5-1. The Titans were 5-1 to get the win. That's how British people bet. We bet 5-1. We don't really do this covering the spread, all of that kind of stuff. That's not how we bet. But we just do the odds of winning and then what the score's going to be. But the Titans were 5-1 to win that game, and it looked to me like it was just going to be an easy win. Like, it's just a horrible matchup for them. The Chiefs at this moment in time, that is a terrible matchup for them. And Derrick Henry didn't even have that big a game. He ran for, you say he didn't have that big a game. He ran for 86 yards, but it was off 29 carries. But they had to sell out to stop that man, which meant everybody else just could ball out on one-to-one against a set of DBs and safeties that can't really do anything. The Titans have got their identity and a formula of how to win, and the Chiefs this season do not.
No, and the O-line for the Chiefs looked bad this weekend. The D-line looked bad. And not that the hit was brutal, but the way Patrick Mahomes folded up looked brutal. And the fact that he already is cleared from concussion protocol makes me think concussion protocol is a freaking joke in the NFL.
It's the NFL's concussion protocol just blows my mind every time. Like, it was when Daniel Jones played the week after suffering that hit, the Cowboys, that I was
Devontae Adams.
There's no point. Yeah, Devontae Adams is on
but IR. He came back in after getting nuked in the head that one game. Like, where's the percussion? And Devontae Adams, sorry, Packers fans, we'll talk about this later, but he's the head of your COVID list right now, so he's out for Thursday.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the Chiefs will be fine. Maybe not this year, but everybody like, oh, Patrick Mahomes can't play anymore. It's crazy to me. It's crazy that people swing the pendulum so fast on a guy can't play and the league figured him out.
Yeah, definitely. And Patrick Mahomes is still a fantastic quarterback. And I mean, the league hasn't figured them out. It's just the league has realized that the Kansas City Chiefs defense is garbage. And if your defense is as garbage, like he takes the fields 7-0 down every time he seems to take the field. And this time he was 7-0 down. And then he was 14-0 down. Like, what do you expect the guy to do? Of course he's throwing 7 interceptions because he's having to play lights out football the entire time to get you going, because they don't have a running game either. If they had a running game to lean on, it might be okay, but they don't. And
no, they're top heavy as fuck, to quote LeBron James when he was talking about his Cleveland Cavaliers. Yeah, you got stars right at the top, but everybody else ain't as good as they need to be.
Yeah, of course. And they really need to, they'll find a way to fix it. I'm sure Andy Reid's a fantastic coach, and they're really well put. That's what they were before this amazing team. They were this great, solid organization. So they could probably do with going back to that and just having Patrick Mahomes there to draw in a few free agency stars that'll want to play with him. Yeah, the Chiefs are a weird mix at the minute.
Yeah, so onto a team that had me cheering for them, even though I picked against them by the middle of the game, the Lions-Rams. And this game I was watching, and I was just noting down my notepad while watching this game, because the Lions started hot. They started hot. 2 huge third downs. Swift had a huge run after the catch to get a touchdown. Surprise onside kick. I mean, like 2 fake punts, one of them in the third. Dan Campbell went berserk because he said we're throwing the kitchen sink at the Rams to win this game, because that's how we're going to have it. The only way we're going to have a chance to win. And me and you were talking during the game. The only problem I have with Dan Campbell the whole game was with when they're in the third and you can go up by 2 with 6 minutes left. You kick that field goal and you keep it a field goal game, because at the end, when Goff threw that interception, if they would have went for the field goal, a field goal would have tied it.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. And
that's it. That's my only complaint. And I don't know how the Rams gave up a 3rd and 11 on a freaking draw. But other than that, like, yeah, it's just Goff being Goff at the end.
The Lions are a team that we absolutely love. They're one of the teams, sweetheart teams. I still don't understand how they haven't won a game this season. When you look at how they've played, I still don't understand how they haven't won a single game this season. And they've played a lot of difficult teams so far this year, apart from and I think where they really let themselves down is the Bears. I think that's where they really, really let themselves down. And that's the only time I can think of this season where they let themselves down. And they're an incredible team. They've got a serve running back. Like DeAndre Swift is brilliant, like an absolutely fantastic running back who I'm surprised there's not more hype around. And he seems to be questionable every single week on the injury reports, and then comes out and just blows people up in the backfield. And he's an incredible, incredible running back. They've got a solid team there. They're having the season exactly like the season we wanted them to have at the start of the season, where Lions, you're going to lose games. It's about being close and starting a culture and a culture change in Detroit. And hopefully they can find a quarterback. And I'm very sorry, Jared Goff, you're not the right quarterback in Detroit, where they're not going to have incredible weapons around you all the time. You're not the right quarterback in Detroit. They need a standout quarterback, and I hope they find one soon.
Was this not the most Lions and Goff thing to happen right here? So the horrible interception by Goff comes with Aaron Donald in his face with Jalen Ramsey picking him off while making a Jared Goff bad decision. If that's not the most epic way, that's poetic justice almost for the way that game kind of ended. Like, yeah.
That's why that's why those two are two of the best defenders in the NFL. Like, they come up in the big times. Like when Jalen Ramsey picked off that ball, I was like, yep, it's Jalen Ramsey. There he is. That's
with Donald in your face, right?
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. With Donald in your face. I was like, there's the LA Rams defense that we've all been talking about all year. That's what they do. And they were fantastic. And the Lions, you will get a win eventually. Just keep on keeping on.
Well, here's my next question for you, Maddie. Were the Pats fantastic, or were the Jets just complete garbage? My guess, it falls somewhere in between, but that was a rout of epic proportion.
Yeah. Let's just talk about, before we get on to how shitty the Jets are, right? Let's let's just talk about the fact that Mac Jones has just scored 54 points, sorry, in the NFL. Did anybody see that when he was coming into the league, into this Patriots team? Did anybody, like, we all talk about the New England Patriots are going to preserve the ball, they're going to win with defense and that kind of thing. The dude's got 54 points in an NFL game, and I don't care if it's against the Jets or whatever, but 54 points is a lot, especially with that offense. So props to Mac Jones, props to Josh McDaniels. 54 points is a massive thing to do. The Jets are having the same problem that the Bengals had with Joe Burrow last year, where they can't protect Zach Wilson. That, like, I don't care how talented a guy is and how talented he is with his arm. If he's got no time to throw the bloody thing, then it's going to be a struggle. And the Patriots brought everything at them and they couldn't hold it off. And Zach Wilson, make less bad decisions, obviously, but learn to take the hit sometimes. But once your only star on your team, and especially on offense, gets injured, that's it. Like, you're not going to score 13 points. And don't worry, Jets fans, Joe Flacco is going to be your quarterback for the next game. Yay!
Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that game, except it was a rout. The Jets have a long way to go, and the Patriots are not 54 points good, but they are impressively getting better. Mac Jones can definitely play. We called this before the draft, though, most NFL-ready guy coming in, and he landed in the perfect spot for him. So I think it's a marriage made in heaven with him.
The Pats honestly worry me for next season. Next season's Pats are horrible. I know, but I don't want to face them in the play. I know I don't want to face them in the playoffs at all. Obviously, the Cowboys are only going to face them if they get to the Super Bowl. But if I'm any of it, if I'm the Bills, I don't want to be facing if I'm the Bills and number 1 seed, I don't want to be playing the Pats as my wild card. I don't want to be playing the Pats when they get through into the playoffs. They're a terrifying team to think about playing in those playoffs.
All right, on to a good game of teams that I think both are going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The Bengals versus the Ravens. The Bengals, I don't think they're ready to win a Super Bowl yet, and this is not shitting on them. They are balling out. You just have to work your way into that type of mindset. They are going to be a tough out for anybody, and they gave the league a blueprint on how to slow Lamar down.
Yeah, and you can't say the Bengals are going to be a Super Bowl contender until they fix their offensive line. Their offensive line wasn't terrible last night. Well, they scored 41 points against the Ravens. Their offensive line was clearly good, but there's so many times where Joe Burrow is running for his life. Jamar Chase is incredible. I picked him in my fantasy team because I was like, I'm sure he's just going to get targeted a lot. He's going to be a big dude, but I didn't expect him to be this good. He's incredible. And Joe Burrow, they've clearly got a psychic link together. What I was surprised about is the Bengals defense and how well they played. It does have to be taken into account how many emotional games the Ravens have come off now to then go and play the team that they normally beat down on every year. It must have been relatively hard to get up for that game compared to all the other games that they've had to have massive, massive emotional strides for and be so beaten up on defense as they are.
Yeah. With the Bengals, I know, okay, so I've been getting a little heat on social media and it's because it's hard by written word for people to always understand what you're saying because they take it as sarcastic when you're not or whatever. Jamar Chase is bowling his ass off, you guys, but quit calling him the best receiver in football. He hasn't done it long enough. I'm not saying he can't be. I'm not saying he doesn't even have the skill. But until you've been there long enough, you ain't Devontae Adams. You ain't even Adam Thielen yet. You ain't Hopkins. You ain't fucking Amari Cooper. You ain't even CeeDee Lamb yet. Like, bro, stop. You've just been in the league 1 year. I'm not saying you can't be, but show it to me before you crown somebody the next Randy Moss, please.
It's like we need to see if there's a second-year slump. We talk about the second-year slump for quarterbacks all the time, but there will be second-year slump for wide receivers as well because people will work out what your moves are. But a lot of the time, wide receivers then add new moves as they get.
Chase may be better than Justin Jefferson, but you cannot say it right now because Justin Jefferson broke all the rookie records last year. I'm not saying he can't be. I'm just saying we're only 7 weeks in. Can we stop crowning a rookie as the next Jerry Rice or the Moss? He might be. He's got all the talent to be a number one receiver for years. I just this prisoner of the moment shit drives me insane.
I think wide receivers are getting better and better and better and better and better as well. And obviously, it's as the game favors them. A lot of the time, it's this kind of sporting evolution thing that we're talking about. Where we talk about Jerry Rice is a great. Obviously, Jerry Rice is a great. He was the only one to do it in his time. But now there's so many people that do that now. Then it kind of takes away greatness of all the people who were doing it at their time as well. And you're just getting better and better and better. There'll be a guy next year. There'll be a guy after that who's having an amazing rookie season. The way things look at the minute, Jamar Chase is outstanding though. He is unbelievable. And he's helping Joe Burrow live up to that first overall pick over Justin Herbert. Kind of like it's now becoming more of a conversation. Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, that kind of idea. Lamar Jackson is not the reason that the Ravens are bad. They weren't bad, like they're not bad, but he's not the reason that they lost that game. He was still their leading rusher. That kind of just tells you how depleted they are in terms of running back. It also kind of says their defense is not what it should be, getting scored 41 points on. The Bengals are a good team, but they shouldn't be scoring 41 points on you with that offensive line. I don't think the Ravens were in the right mindset for this game at all, and I wouldn't take it as too much of an indictment. Did anybody see the Bengals being top of the AFC North at this point in the season? No?
Maybe a few delusional Bengal fans, but they're not delusional anymore.
I think it's just because of the Browns. Like I had them being higher than the Ravens and the Steelers, but I didn't have them beating the Browns. So the Bengals look like a really, really decent team this year.
Yeah, they're surprising a lot of people, including myself. And going surprise to the other way, Hawks Saints. I gotta admit, I'm off the Saints. I'm off Jameis. I'm done. I thought Sean Payton was going to change this kid. And it's not that he's making the same dumb mistakes. It's just that, like, bro, you're not the guy I thought Sean Payton was going to make you with that offense, which, okay, we've all said Breeze is a Hall of Famer. Breeze is great. Maybe Breeze deserves a little more credit than Sean Payton.
Yeah, like maybe. Obviously, you can't take the whole. It was a monsoon that they were playing in last night. Like, let's just put that out there. The fact that nobody could throw the ball through that. Like it is a difficult thing to. Maybe Josh Allen's cannon arm coming from Wyoming might be one of the only people who could rinse it through there. But Jameis Winston isn't the guy. The Seahawks are bad. The Saints are bad.
Well, the Seahawks are bad because they don't have a ton of talent and their best players out. I get that.
Yeah, right? the Seahawks are bad because they don't have Russell Wilson, but they're still bad when they have Russell Wilson. But Russell Wilson, I
thought Jameis was going to come out and have a day on that team that's so depleted, and this was made for him. And all of his big plays came to Kamara, which is what you do. I get that. But, Jameis, I thought was going to be better with Sean Payton than he is. Like, Teddy
definitely.
Bridgewater.
And we said last week. Yeah, we said last week if you have Jameis Winston in your fantasy team and he's sitting there on the bench and you're not sure about your quarterback, stick him in for this game because he'll have huge amounts of yards. The monsoon did play into that. And the fact that they have very little talent on offense outside of Alvin Kamara at the minute. But yeah, he's not played right at all since the start. Like the Packers game, I think the Packers game gave us a false idea as to how good the Saints were and how bad the Packers were. I just don't think the Packers were ready for that game at all. And I think the Saints came in so ridiculously hyped up and emotional with everything that was going on in New Orleans at the time. So yeah, the Saints aren't the team. The Seahawks aren't the team.
No,
a boring game in a monsoon.
For me, it's like I just thought that Sean Payton was going to bring out the best in Jameis like he did Teddy. For those 5 or 6 games that Teddy played for them when Drew Brees was hurt, he looked fucking amazing. Amazing. Yeah. So I thought, Jameis is more talented than Teddy arm-wise and all of that. So with Sean Payton, he's going to get in there, and I just don't see it. So I'm off Jameis's bandwagon. It took me a half a season with him and Sean Payton, but I'm off the bandwagon.
Yeah, I would like to give them a year together before really. I'm off the bandwagon for this season, but I would like to give them a full season together to work each other out and work out the systems and things like that. Non-COVID obviously the COVID restrictions for this preseason weren't as bad as the preseason before, but still, like they were around. So I would like to give them one season together. I'm not saying the Saints should bin Jameis because there's nowhere for them to go either. In the same as the Browns can't bin Baker, and Jameis has a lot of talent. So I would like to give them one more year. But this season, the Saints aren't the guys, and the Seahawks aren't the guys, as far as I can see.
Well, there you have it, guys. There is your Week 7 wrap-up. Our review of Week 7. I think we hit the games that kind of mattered since it was a weird week of football. Yeah. But all of you guys, stay tuned because we will be hitting you with a Week 8 preview.
Yeah, all cheers, right, guys. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.